A child disappears without a sound, and every clue leads deeper into the dark. A small figure on a long stretch of highway, rain pressing down in sheets. Wind shifting the treetops, headlights that never came, brakes that never screeched. Just silence. And a set of small footprints that led nowhere. And much later, a pair of shoes found deep in the woods. Miles from home. Placed in a spot no 9-year-old could reach alone. This is the case of a child who stepped into the night and vanished before the sun rose. Asha Degree. The girl who walked into the darkness. She lived in Shelby, North Carolina. A quiet town where families stayed close, neighbors knew each other, and children played outside without fear. Asha was 9 years old, small, reserved, careful in the way only some children are, as if she understood the world too clearly for her age. She loved school, books, basketball, her family's routines. There were no signs of unhappiness, no conflicts, no secret struggles hidden beneath the surface. Her parents were strict but loving, protective in a way many families admired. The home was stable, disciplined, structured. At the time, there was no internet in the house, no social media, no outside influence that could whisper danger into a child's ear. Her life was small and safe, predictable. But the night before she disappeared felt different. A storm rolled in early. Thunder pushed through the sky. Rain fell hard against the windows. Inside, the Degrees followed their routine. Dinner together. Homework. Asha and her brother in bed before the rain grew heavier. Nothing unusual. Nothing alarming. Nothing to mark this as the last night anyone would ever see her. Later, the wind rose. The house creaked. Lightning lit the rooms for an instant at a time. Somewhere in those hours, long after the world outside had gone quiet, Asha woke up, and the story turned sharply into something no one could explain. Asha rose from her bed in the middle of a storm. Not startled, not panicked, just awake, as if responding to something only she could hear. She moved quietly, deliberately. She gathered clothes, personal items, and her basketball bag. Not enough to run away, not enough to start over. Just a handful of things that made sense to her in a child's logic. Then she opened the front door and walked out of the house. No coat, no umbrella, no flashlight against the darkness. Just a 9-year-old stepping into a storm wearing a backpack and determination no one understood. Outside, the night was pitch black. No streetlights on the rural road. Only the sound of rain and the distant hum of traffic from the highway. Sometime in the early morning, drivers began reporting a small figure on the roadside. A child walking alone. Most slowed down, confused, unsure if what they were seeing could possibly be real. One driver, a trucker, turned around after passing her, concerned for her safety. He approached slowly, rolled down his window to call out to her, and she reacted instantly, bolting into the woods as if terrified, as if running from danger, or toward something only she recognized. In seconds, she disappeared into the trees. This was the last confirmed sighting of Asha Degree. By morning, her bed was empty, her room untouched. Her parents alarmed. Her absence made no sense. Her mother searched every corner, every closet, every room. Her father checked the cars, the yard, the road. Nothing. Panic settled in before the sun had fully risen. They called the police immediately. Not waiting, not assuming she'd return. They knew her. She didn't leave without reason. She didn't wander. She didn't run away, and yet she was gone. From this moment, the timeline fractures. Witness accounts conflict. Memory blurs. Evidence scatters. The night becomes a puzzle with pieces missing, broken, or never created at all. Authorities move fast. Search teams spread out across fields, roads, and forest edges. Volunteers joined in. Dogs tracked a scent down the road, then lost it abruptly as if Asha had simply lifted off the ground and vanished. Hours turned into days, days into weeks. Then a lead emerged. A tool shed near the stretch of highway where she was last seen. Inside, small items linked to Asha, a hairbow, a pencil, a marker, things a child might carry in a backpack or pocket. But the shed was dry despite the storm. Nothing appeared disturbed, and no footprints led in or out. The clues felt placed, but not by her. Months passed. The case slowed. The world moved on. But her family never did. Then, over a year later, a break surfaced in a location few expected. A construction site more than 20 miles away. Workers clearing land uncovered a plastic bag. Inside was her book bag, the same bag she carried the night she disappeared. Buried deliberately, covered in layers of earth, far too deep for a child to bury herself. Inside were her belongings, school papers, clothes, little things she treasured, but also items that did not belong to her, objects never recognized by her family. Clues that didn't match anything in her life. There were no fingerprints, no DNA, no trail leading to a suspect, no evidence of who placed it there or why. Investigators chased leads, calls from people who thought they saw her, tips from strangers, possible connections to offenders in the area. But every direction curved back into silence. Every clue ended in shadow. And the case slowly slid into a place where answers rarely survive. Theories formed, none complete, none without flaws. Some believe she died accidentally, lost in the storm, unable to find her way home. But no remains have ever been found, despite extensive searches. Others believe she encountered someone on the highway, someone who coaxed her, or frightened her, or followed her after she fled into the woods. But no witness identified a vehicle. No one came forward. And no evidence implicates anyone. Some think she left intentionally, that she planned the escape. But she took no money, left no note, and brought nothing a runaway would need to survive even a few hours. Other theories suggest the event was staged, that something happened in the night that led her outside without her knowing why. But nothing supports this beyond speculation. Mistaken identity was considered, but multiple witnesses gave matching descriptions of the same child in the same place at the same time. Years later, investigators briefly explored links to known offenders and nearby cases. But again, no evidence supported a connection. What remains are the unanswered elements. Why would a cautious child walk into a storm without hesitation? Why were some of her belongings found deep in the woods while others were buried miles away in a plastic bag only an adult could conceal? Why were items inside the bag that belonged to no one in her home? Who was the last person to see her alive? And what conversation, if any, took place in the darkness? Questions without answers. Answers that lead nowhere. 2 decades later, the trail remains still, cold, unmoving. A child walked into the night, and the world never saw her again. In the end, the truth remains buried. Somewhere between what we know and what we fear, and the file slowly closes. This is Dark True Crime Archives, where the forgotten are remembered and the unanswered never truly fade. If this case stays with you, you're not alone. Subscribe for more stories that should never be lost to time.